The zipper stopped halfway. For a second, neither of them moved. The quiet room seemed to hold its breath as the single father stood behind his boss, carefully fixing the delicate zipper of a dress that cost more than 3 months of his rent. Outside the tall glass windows, the city lights shimmered against the dark sky, and the sound of distant traffic hummed like a restless heartbeat. His hands trembled slightly, not because of the closeness, not because she was the powerful CEO everyone feared, but because of what he knew. And then he whispered the words that would change everything. "He's not coming." The woman in front of him froze as if the air had turned to ice. Her shoulders stiffened. For a long moment, she didn't turn around. Before we continue this emotional story, take a second to support the channel. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us of the good in people, please like this video, comment below where you are watching from, share this story with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel Kindness. Your support helps keep these stories alive. Marcus Hale had never imagined that one quiet moment in a dressing room would pull him into the center of someone else's heartbreak. 3 years earlier, his life had collapsed in a single hospital corridor. The fluorescent lights, the smell of antiseptic, the soft crying of his 6-year-old daughter, Emma, those memories still haunted him. His wife had died unexpectedly after a sudden illness, leaving Marcus alone with a child who kept asking when her mother would come home. At the time, Marcus worked as a construction supervisor. The job required long hours and constant travel between sites. It paid well, but it wasn't a life a single father could manage. After missing too many school pickups and sitting through too many nights watching Emma fall asleep on the couch waiting for him, he had made a painful decision. He quit. For months he struggled, working temporary jobs, cleaning offices, delivering groceries, fixing broken appliances in apartment buildings. Pride disappeared quickly when rent was due and a child needed food. Eventually, he found a job in a towering corporate building downtown. It wasn't glamorous. He worked as part of the building's maintenance staff, repairing lights, fixing doors, replacing broken fixtures. But it gave him something priceless: stability. Emma started smiling again. They developed small traditions: pancakes every Saturday morning, bedtime stories every night, and movie nights where they shared one big bowl of popcorn. Their little apartment wasn't fancy, but it was filled with laughter again. And Marcus learned something important about quiet work. Sometimes the people who fix small things witness the biggest moments in other people's lives, which is how he ended up standing in the private office suite of Elena Voss. Elena was the CEO of Voss Technologies, a woman known across the city as brilliant, ruthless, and unstoppable. Her company dominated headlines, and employees whispered stories about her cold efficiency. But Marcus had noticed something different. Late nights when the office floors were empty, he sometimes saw her standing alone by the windows, staring down at the streets far below. There was a stillness about her that didn't look like power. It looked like loneliness. That evening had been different from the beginning. The office buzzed with quiet excitement. A major charity gala was happening across the city, an event attended by politicians, billionaires, and celebrities. Elena Voss was supposed to attend with her fiancé, a famous investor named Daniel Carter. Everyone in the building had been talking about it. Marcus had been repairing a loose door hinge near her office when Elena suddenly stepped out of her private dressing room, holding the back of a dark emerald evening gown. The zipper was stuck. Normally, she would have asked her assistant, but the entire executive team had already left for the event venue. For a brief second, the powerful CEO looked almost embarrassed, asking a maintenance worker for help. Marcus simply nodded and stepped closer. He fixed broken things. That was what he did. The zipper moved slowly under his careful hands, sliding upward along the elegant line of the dress. But while he worked, Marcus noticed something else. Her phone had been sitting on the table beside the mirror. The screen was still lit. He hadn't meant to read it, but the message was impossible to ignore. "Daniel Carter, I'm sorry, I can't do this." The engagement was a mistake. Marcus had seen heartbreak before. He recognized it instantly, even before she spoke. So when the zipper finally reached the top, he said the words quietly, "He's not coming." The silence that followed was heavier than any sound. Elena slowly turned around, her face pale but controlled. Powerful people often learned how to hide pain better than anyone else. But Marcus noticed the small crack in her composure. the way her fingers tightened slightly around the edge of the table. The city outside the windows continued moving, unaware that a life had just shifted. For years, Elena Voss had built everything around control. Her company, her reputation, her future marriage, every piece planned perfectly. But heartbreak never followed schedules. She didn't cry. Instead, she asked Marcus a simple question. "How did you know?" Marcus hesitated before answering. His voice carried the quiet weight of someone who had survived loss. "Because I've heard that silence before." He didn't elaborate, but Elena seemed to understand. Something changed in that moment. The invisible wall between CEO and maintenance worker cracked just enough for two human beings to stand on the same side of it. Elena walked toward the window, staring down at the glowing city streets where the gala was already beginning without her. For the first time in years, she didn't know what to do next. Marcus picked up his tool bag, ready to leave. Fixing the zipper had never been his business beyond that. But before he reached the door, Elena spoke again. "Do you have children?" Marcus turned back. "One daughter." Her voice softened slightly. "Single dad?" He nodded. "Yes." She studied him for a moment, not as an employee, but as someone who had endured storms she couldn't see. "What do you do," she asked quietly, "when life falls apart?" Marcus thought about Emma's small hand in his, about the nights when grief felt unbearable, but breakfast still needed to be made the next morning. Finally, he answered, "You wake up the next day anyway." Those simple words lingered in the room like a quiet truth. Elena looked at her reflection again, the elegant dress, the perfectly prepared image meant for cameras and headlines. Then she did something unexpected. She sat down. For the first time that evening, she allowed herself to breathe. Marcus left the office shortly afterward, assuming that was the end of the moment. But the next morning, something unusual happened. Instead of attending the gala, Elena had canceled her appearance. Instead of hiding the broken engagement behind corporate statements, she simply returned to work. And 3 days later, Marcus received a message from building management asking him to report to the executive floor. He assumed he had done something wrong. Instead, Elena Voss handed him an envelope. Inside was an offer, not for a promotion in maintenance, but for a new position, building operations manager, a stable schedule, better pay, health benefits for his daughter. Marcus looked up in disbelief. "You barely know me," he said. Elena's answer was calm. "I know what kind of man tells the truth when it would be easier to stay silent." Weeks passed and life slowly shifted. Marcus adjusted to his new role, Emma started attending a better school, and Elena's company continued thriving. But something else changed too. Every now and then, Marcus noticed Elena smiling more often. Small, quiet smiles that hadn't existed before. Pain had not destroyed her. It had humanized her, and on one quiet afternoon months later, Marcus saw something that made him stop in the hallway. Elena was kneeling beside Emma in the lobby, helping her build a small tower out of colorful blocks, while Marcus finished a phone call nearby. The most powerful CEO in the building was laughing like a normal person. Sometimes the biggest changes in life start with the smallest acts of honesty. A stuck zipper, a whispered truth, a moment of kindness between two strangers. And sometimes that moment becomes the beginning of a second chance neither person expected. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share it with someone who believes in kindness and second chances. And subscribe to the channel Kindness for more emotional stories that remind us how small moments can change lives. Also tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? Your messages inspire these stories more than you know.